For more insight on the upcoming reports, let's go back to our studio guests. Well, gentlemen, you've mentioned some highlights, the criminal procedure law, the civil procedure law, and even the exit and entry law. So I don't know if you've been noticing the labor contract law. Do you think it's quite significant as well?
Yeah, you know, from a person who practices in the commercial area, that's a very, very important section. I mean, it's trying to get equal pay for equal jobs. I mean, one of the issues that has been confronted are people using labor dispatch organizations in order to, in my opinion, or in a lot of experts' opinion, skirt the new labor contract law, which was passed in 2008. And the labor contract law basically is trying to give equality to people who are working under a labor dispatch or temporary labor agreements. So we have some employers who are maybe trying to skirt these issues of paying the welfare benefits. I don't think people understand, but when you pay someone in China, there's an additional 43% payment in welfare benefits. And so when you have these dispatch workers, oftentimes these are not paid. And so they're trying to address that under the new labor law, the new contract law, which includes that.
Yeah.
Well, Professor, why the welfare of dispatched workers becomes such a concern in China?
I think the number one consideration is equality, and it is important principle in rule of law. I have to admit that I'm not expert of labor law, but as a common Chinese, I do have the knowledge about the dispatched workers. You know, even in our universities, we have some dispatched workers, or we call it temporary employees, you know, working as staff at the office. Generally speaking, they would get lower payments. They don't have the welfare.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, and that's a huge issue, and I don't think people understand. And I think also because we have the hukou system here, and also you know where people have their workbooks here, and so a lot of times these dispatch workers are really coming in from other cities, and there's not an equal consideration for them, and they're putting them under this temporary labor dispatch workers, and they don't get the welfare benefits, or they get lower pay. They're they write in the contract straight away that they're only going to be temporary for 6 months. A lot of times they extend them. You know, we've seen this in Europe, we've seen it in the United States, where what they try to do is mask subcontractors or temporary workers in order to not give welfare benefits for employees. And I think that what China's done with this is they're trying to grapple with this issue, which they need to do. They need to be able to secure, under the new labor contract law, I think it's fantastic. Everybody has to sign a contract, everybody has to be employed, even these dispatch workers. But this is a very important point, and I think it's a highlight for what's coming up this year. I do believe that, the implementation, and it'll give equal rights for people.
So now, very quick words, gentlemen. What are expectations towards this year's report from China's top legislator, Professor?
The report.
Yeah,
I think
the upcoming report.
Review the work that we have seen. We have talked about.
That's right.
I would like to see more about the future work of the People's Congress, the Standing Committee, and. For me, I think the number one job for the National People's Congress is to pass a law on anti-corruption, because this is the number one issue. Chinese people are facing, the ruling party is facing, and the government is facing. We got to have a law to fix the problem. And of course, there are many other laws we have to fix. But another thing I wanted to mention is that for making law, it's quite easy. The more difficult job is enforcing the law, is carrying out the law in action, talking about the labor contract law or the environmental protection law. We need the strong and strict enforcement of the laws. Otherwise, you know, the laws just on paper.
Right. I mean, but, you know, and I agree with Professor He, there's no question about it. I mean, we want to look forward, and Professor He has written a book right here on anti-corruption, which is extremely important. And that's the cancer that will kill any government. It doesn't matter which government it is if we don't have implementation against anti-corruption. You know, I think environmental issues are also something that really they have to grapple with. And I think China has done that. They're starting to do it. Before, I think it was a step in denial, but I think that this is something, and these will be things that will be discussed today with Mr. Wu today.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll talk to you very soon.